Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of TechSoup Connect Australia. My name is Kat Milner. I will be your host and facilitator today. I am the Chief Tech Ninja for Create Your Change and Simplify Your Tech. Today, we have Stacy Braga coming to us and chatting with us about how to leverage your email list for success. Now, I don't know about you or your organization, but this is definitely something that I can use. And to tell you a little bit about Stacy, she is a very experienced sales copywriter and email marketer. She tends to work with coaches, but she's going to be able to show you how to apply the same principles to your not-for-profit who want to scale and launch with ease. Love that word, ease. She's a former teacher. She loves sharing her marketing knowledge with other entrepreneurs and organizations. And when she's not working, she loves snuggling up with her cat and going for walks. And maybe if we ask her really nicely, she'll even show us pictures of her cat. So without further ado, here's Stacy.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And if you're lucky, my cat might even make an appearance. She really likes to walk across the screen. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm really excited. I did a bunch of research about how to apply this in the non-for-profit space. So I'm ready for it. So how to leverage your email list for success. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, just so, oh geez, I lost the chat. There we go. Just let me know who you are and what you do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself in the next slide. So my name is Stacy. As Kat said, I'm a sales copywriter and educator. I left the education space. I had a degree in educational leadership, and now I'm using my education knowledge to really spread the knowledge about marketing and helping people build their businesses and organizations in a way that feels good to them. Jen, welcome. Hello. Oh, welcome, Kat. Thank you. So interesting. Oh, we're going to think about ways to get more people on your email lists, Jen and Kat, and engage them. So I used to teach the littles, first and second grade. And I've got a cat named Bella who is around somewhere, and I am based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So it is 9:30 p.m. right now for me, and I will be going to bed right after this. So here we go. The average open rate for an email for a nonprofit is 25%. So that means for every 100 emails you send, about 25 will be opened. So this is average. If you compare it to a social media post might only get 2% visibility. So you have a lot more power with email to really get more eyes on what you want to send out. But this is average, and a lot of nonprofits are not hiring copywriters. So I'm going to show you how you can get to this average or even be better than average with your list. So here's the agenda. And if you want to tell me how you feel about email marketing, 1 being I hate it and 5 being I love it, you can put that in the chat. And if you have any questions along the way, okay, 2. Good to know what we're working with. If you have any questions around the way, feel free to drop them in the chat. 4.5, okay, we're feeling good. I'll answer them as I go. And then the agenda is we'll go over some foundations. We'll talk about what it takes to really nurture your list. We'll talk about ways to segment and automate your list so you could start to save time and really build in systems and processes. And then at the end, we'll have some time for a Q&A. Sounds good? Awesome. So email foundations. Here we go. We could do like a whole hour presentation on just growing your list. It is probably the most frequent question that I get. How do I grow my list? And I think that people have a hard time with it because you kind of expect your list to grow really fast, but it usually does not grow really fast, and you just have to be consistent. So one of the ways that you can grow your list is with opt-ins on your website. And when you have an opt-in, you really want to communicate the why behind your email list. So what are they actually going to be getting when they sign up? So will they be receiving updates? Will they be getting exclusive content? Will they be getting impact stories about, clients, where has their donation money gone, stuff like that. So be very clear about what they will be getting when they sign up for your email list. You can also, when somebody donates to your organization, have a little check form that says, yes, please subscribe me to your list and keep me updated. That's a very simple way to get people who are already bought in to keep going and engage with your organization in the future. If you have a opt-in on your homepage or a blog, I recommend having it not pop up right away when somebody gets to your website. Usually when somebody gets to your website and it immediately pops up, it's like too soon. They don't know anything about you. So I would recommend, if you can have a setting to have it pop up, in 30 seconds after somebody gets to your page, so they have a chance to kind of get to know what your organization is, like what's available, and then have the pop-up, or have it as part of the page so that it's not a pop-up. Another thing you can do is have it, I know it is annoying when it pops up in your face like that. You can have it so that when people move their mouse towards the X, then it'll pop up. So it's like before they leave. So that's a good way to do it. So those are opt-ins. Moving on to exclusive content, you can create a guide, a free resource, a quiz, a video, and have those behind an opt-in. So you can access this when you give us your email, and then you'll also be added to our email list and get XYZ. This is really effective in the online marketing space. If you do go this route, then you want to promote it everywhere. Really be very intentional about, putting it on LinkedIn and Instagram, and wherever you are, you can post about it weekly or 2 times a week, because not everybody sees everything. Another great way to grow your list is through collaborations. So you might find an organization that has a similar mission to you, and maybe you can work together on an event, or do like a summit, or find a way to collaborate where you can bring together your audiences and then share email lists. So I've done like giveaways with other people. Probably doesn't make sense for a nonprofit, but you can be creative. You can have I've done summits that have really helped grow my email list. So maybe there's a summit where, all of the money you raise goes towards XYZ, and then you can collect all of those email addresses, working together alongside other organizations. So different ideas with collaboration. In your current emails, you can encourage people to share. You can have an opt-in at the bottom of your signature. So if, mom forwards it to her best friend, then like she might also be wanting to join your list as well. And then we've got events and webinars, workshops, masterminds. Those are great ways. People really love getting more information, learning more. So thinking about what are things that relate to the mission of your organization and how can you help people. So maybe Jen, for like Bone Marrow Transplant Foundation, it's like, how do you know when you need to see a doctor for XYZ, or like how to support a family member that's, has issues with XYZ. And it could be a guide like that. That really helps the people in the community or adjacent to the community. And then you could have something like a referral program where you recognize people who share your stuff, and then you can also go the route of ads. If you have the budget for it, it can also help grow your list, especially if you pair ads with an event or with some sort of collaboration. So keep it simple. Do not try to do all of these. Pick one and promote it everywhere. So just like from this what are you thinking for your organization? What is something that could be beneficial for you? I'll give you a sec. Yes, growing events. Amazing. Yes, free boot camp. That's a great idea. You can keep promoting it. Okay, so a guide for family and friends. I like that. And that's so nice because, Jen, then you get people who really are, they know the struggles, right? Like they really want to like do something for the community and the people that they know. So you are niche, yes. um, I'm going to jump into email anatomy. And I know this seems like super basic because you already know what a subject line is. Um, but some of these things can actually have a really huge impact on whether or not somebody opens your email. And so when you are actually like reading your email every day, I want you to pay attention. Which are the emails that you choose to open and which ones are the ones that you just like right away delete? And so I'm pulling these things out because the subject line, the from line, and the snippet are all things that you can customize and you can test over time. So you can play with these and see like what works best for your audience. So for example, the from line, you might have it as, mine is just Stacy because I'm a personal brand and I want to give the vibe that like my business is small and personal. But you might have it like Jen from XYZ brand or like the executive director of this. So play around with it. It can affect how people perceive your emails, like, and what feel you want. Then you've got your subject lines, another thing that you can play with. We'll talk more about subject lines in the next slide, but you can include a benefit, like why should they open this email, make people curious. If there's time sensitive stuff, then add it in like time, like urgent, today only, right? Because then people are like, okay, I got to read this one today. Emojis are really great to get people's attention. And then length. So if you notice that like all the subject lines in your email are very long and you send out a short one, that's going to stand out, right? And if you do the opposite, all of them are pretty short and you send a long one, that will also stand out. And then we've got the snippet. Everybody forgets about this. So this is the text that comes like after your subject line. It's like the preview text. And you can use this pretty strategically. So if you think of your subject line as a heading, you can think of your snippet as a subheading, and it's kind of like a little bit more prompting. If you leave that blank in your email provider, it's just going to give you the first line of the email. So a lot of the times it'll be like subject line, and then it'll be like, hi, Kat, comma, right, blah, 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 whatever's in the email. But if you can play around with it and be creative and use that as a way to like get people curious. So subject lines. So here's some examples of different strategies you can use in your subject lines. So instead of saying June newsletter, you can say how you can impact a life today. And you can even be more specific to that, like how you can help somebody XYZ today. And that really brings out the curiosity aspect because you kind of have to open it to see, oh, like I do want to help somebody, but like, how do I do that? Right. So I have to open the email to see. The urgency, instead of saying like reminder, upcoming event, be really specific, get involved. Our event starts tomorrow. You can even put like what's in it, what's going to happen at the event. And then the third one, instead of saying, thank you for your donation, like you made a difference, thanks for your support, you can say like you helped somebody blank today, right? Like whatever it is that your organization does. So if there's any questions about the anatomy of an email and then stick them in the chat and I'll answer them. And we're going to move on to what actually goes in an email. So, nurturing your list. Your email is set up. You have an idea of your subject lines, your subheadings. So what comes next? How do you actually engage with the people on your list? How do you build relationships with them? So what is the copy inside the email? What does it look like so that you can get more results and you can get to those goals faster? The most common questions I get is, why do I have to do this? Why can't I just email people and try to sell my product or ask for donations? Like, why do I have to email them frequently? It's because people donate to people and people buy from people. And when you send out regular emails, people are building a relationship with you and your brand and your organization. So if you only send out emails when it's time to ask for something, then they're not going to be so willing to do it because they don't really have a connection with you. So it really does make a difference when people have that connection. It can lead to a lot more engagement, a lot more trust, a lot more donations. So you want to use your email as a way to provide valuable content, to engage with your audience, to show support for their appreciation, and to tell stories. And that way you're going to be able to create a really loyal community that's more willing to advocate for your cause, right? To share with their networks, to contribute to your mission. The other question I get is, how often do I email? And honestly, it depends on a lot of things. The first one being your capacity. Don't stress yourself out. If like to send 5 emails out a week, you definitely do not need to send out 5 emails. If you are in an active campaign, you might email every single day for 2 weeks, right? But then go back to once or twice a week. I would say minimum email at least once a week to stay the top of mind in people's heads, and so that they remember who you are, they see your name at least once a week, and they have that relationship with you. It's when you disappear for 3 months at a time and then ask for a donation, people are like, who are you? Why should I donate to you, right? And then the last question I get is, what do I actually say in these emails? So these are the components that you need. And it doesn't mean that so you have story, authority, education, calls to action. It doesn't mean that you have to have one story email and then one authority email, and then one education email, and then one call to action email. One email might hit storytelling and authority building and a call to action. It's just, you want to just make sure that over the course of a few weeks or the course of a few emails that you are hitting all of these, because it's going to connect with people in different ways. So stories are going to help you connect with your readers on an emotional level. So you can talk about case studies. Who is somebody that your organization has helped? What is the story behind it? Where were they before? Where did they go afterwards? Excuse me. And that's going to build an emotional connection. Authority is going to build logical connections. So authority is really where you build trust. So you want to talk about what has your organization accomplished. You can share interviews, any sort of PR, anything that's going to set you apart as an expert in your field. So how do people know that your organization is getting the results that you're saying it's getting, right? So what examples can you give? And so sometimes storytelling and authority building goes really hand in hand, especially when you're talking about it through past people that you have helped. And then education. So the purpose of education is to really help people feel inspired, build a lot of awareness around what issues you're dealing with, and then just have people be more informed about what they can do. So, for example, if you help marginalized communities get access to tech, you might talk about the importance of technology and the impact that it has on communities and how it affects, people's education levels and job searches and all of this stuff. So, getting people to think about something in a different way or having a new perspective. And then finally, we have a call to action. This one is bolded because you need a call to action in every single email. And a call to action doesn't have to be asking for a donation every single time. It could be something like follow us on social media, take this survey so that we know more about you. So you want to really think about what are some of the goals that your organization has and what can you ask people to help move towards that goal. If you have a blog, then alternating between blog and asking for donations is a great way to give educational value and then also ask for what you want. And last thing I'll say on this slide, only use one call to action per email. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm wondering, when I get a newsletter email with like 16 different sections, I do not read those. It's too much. And so you can actually, if you have a newsletter format, you can split it into different emails and send them more frequently, because people are more likely to engage when things feel easy. And so if your email feels easy, people are more likely to read. Ooh. Yes. Great. And Jen, you can also test it. So you said you send out monthly newsletters with links back to stories on our blog. Or should you do more frequent emails? So you can try it out too. Like look at your newsletters and see how many people are clicking through. Like if you see that people are clicking through to the blogs, then it's working great. But you can also test it out and see, oh, is my engagement going up? Because people's audiences are different and it depends too, right? So I don't want to be like, this is the rule. In general, though, I do see that people are more engaged when it's easy, but definitely test it out. And it's also easier to see the results of like a click-through rate when you have one blog post per email. So you can see like, oh, this one was more popular than this one. And that can give you some more data as well. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go into some structural stuff. So when you're actually writing the email, these are some formats that you can follow, and I'm going to give you some examples on the next slide. But I call this the BAB formula, the before, after, bridge. And it's just a way to set up client stories so that it's engaging and it evokes curiosity. So you start with before and you say, what's going on? What's the issue that your organization supports? How is it affecting people? Why is it a big deal? And then you move into after. So what's your mission? How have you helped people? What difference has you made? What's the impact that you made? And then the bridge. So it's that's really where you ask for support, right? So this was before, this is the after that we're working towards. And the bridge is, this is how you can help support us by doing XYZ. So to give an example of that, and this is an outline, this is not fleshed out by any means. Please don't take this as a real email. So before would be, did you know, according to the CDC, 57% of teenage girls felt hopeless in 2021, right? After, here at XYZ, we're working towards a world where every teen girl has the resources she needs to live a happy and healthy life. And you could even talk about in this after section, what does that actually look like? So what does it mean to have a happy and healthy life? Is it access to a counselor? Is it healthy food? Right? And then the bridge. That's why we need your help. Any donation goes directly to teen girls and supports this organization. So that is how you use the BAB. I'll give you one more, which is the 4 Ps. So this is another one that you can use. It's really good for education and storytelling. So you start with the promise. So what is the benefit? What are you going to help people with? Then you can go into the picture. What's your mission? What's your dream, right? What are you working towards? Then you have your proof. What have you accomplished? And then push. It's time for the details and the call to action. So when you are writing these, also think about how you can show instead of telling. So really getting into the nitty-gritty of, if you're telling a story, talking about how people feel, what they're saying, what their lives will actually look like being hyper specific helps people actually visualize things, and they're going to be more likely to take action when they can picture something in their mind. And it's also going to help build more of a connection when they feel like they can see the imagery and the storytelling, because you also remember stories more than you remember facts and data. So this one, an example, again, another outline. So the promise is, when you volunteer, you help more women gain access to preventative health services. And the picture is, imagine a world where every woman has access to the resources they need. And so you can even say, without having to worry about finances, without having to worry about traveling to a doctor, really getting into those specifics. And then proof, with the help of our volunteers, we've provided services for over 100 women in 9 countries. You can flesh that out a little bit. We've helped them with XYZ. And then push, our volunteers help with this. Join our volunteer team today. So that is an example of what that looks like. And I will stop with the copywriting formulas. I nerd out on them a little bit, but if you have any questions, let me know. And then metrics. This is like really where I nerd out, but I will just give you a brief overview. So metrics are important because that's how you know if something is working. So you can test out the success of your emails by looking for how many donations you get, how many sales you make. But if something is wrong and you're not really reaching those numbers, you can always diagnose where the problem is through your metrics. So you can see all of this inside your email provider. So open rates, I had told you, for nonprofits, the average is about 25%. So that's how many people are opening your email. If your open rates are much lower than 25%, that's where you want to check the things we talked about with the email anatomy, the subject lines, the snippets, and the from lines. That's where you want to play with that. Then you have your click-through rates. If your click-through rates are low, then I will say, open rates are usually 25%. Click-through rates are usually 1 to 2%. So it's much lower. So from the people that have opened it, you're only going to get, a small percentage of those people actually clicking through. If your click-through rates are like 0, think about your copy. Think about how you can incorporate more stories, how you can build more social proof, and play with those formulas, the BAB and the 4 Ps, and just kind of see if that makes a difference. And then deliverability. This one's a little bit harder to diagnose. Deliverability really should be in the high 90s, like 96 to 99%. If you have low deliverability, it could be a lot of things. I would recommend starting with cleaning out your list, purging your list, deleting people who are inactive, making sure you don't have a bunch of spam bots in your list, and that should help your deliverability. So if you have any questions, we're going to move into segmentation and automation in a second. But I will say, the thing about email marketing, and when I work with clients too, it's always a work in progress, and it's always about improving it over time. So use these metrics and you can learn more about who's reading your emails, and start to tailor some of the content to the people who are reading your emails based on what data you're seeing. Fun stuff. I love the numbers. Okay, so once you have the basics down, you can start to automate and segment to create a better experience for your readers. So the point of segmenting and automating is really to create a more personalized experience, to give people choice in how they interact with you, and to make sure that whatever you send is relevant. Because if you start sending personalized things to people who it's not relevant for, you're likely to get more unsubscribes. So as you grow your list, you want to make sure that you're sending things to people that actually want to get them. So ways to segment your list. So within your email service provider, you should be able to segment or divide your list. One way to do it is by demographics. So that could be gender, location, right? Who they are, how old they are. An interesting way to do it is for your local people versus your remote people. So if you have a local event, you might want to tag all the local people so you know these are the people I want to invite to my event, versus if it's an online event, you might want to invite all of the faraway people. Interests, what they're interested in. So you might, if you have different ways that people get on your email list, you might say like, okay, like these people are interested in email marketing, so I'm going to put them on a list. And then these people are interested in learning more how to support family members. I'm going to put them on this list and send them extra tips about this. Behavior is an interesting one. So behavior, you can segment by having a link inside your email. So if you are doing a campaign, you might send an email that says, hey, we're about to send you a bunch of emails for this campaign, but if you're no longer interested in receiving these emails, click this button and they can actually opt out of that campaign and still be on your email list. And it just creates permission, right? So people are only hearing the things that they want to hear. You can also do behavior stuff like if somebody starts clicking into a donation, but then they leave before they actually complete the donation, you can do an abandoned cart sequence that's like, hey, actually, like you were starting to donate, but something happened. Like, let me help you out. Here's the link. And then, yeah, so you have behavior and then history. So you might segment the people who have donated to you in the past so that you can retarget those people for a campaign. Or you might have people who have volunteered with you in the past and you want to, reach out to those people first before you try to find new volunteers. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Let me know if you have some ideas or if you're already segmenting your list in different ways. For me, I do it by the type of service that people are interested in. And I try to be like, okay, you signed up for this resource, so let me send you more resources based on the thing that you signed up for. So that is segmentation. So let's go into automation. So this is what's going to save you so much time. It's where the magic happens. So within your email management software, you can create workflows, and that's going to help you reach so many more people in a personalized way that you don't have to keep doing the same thing. So for example, a welcome sequence will target everybody who joins your email list or your email community, and you don't have to individually be like, welcome to my email community. It's so great to have you, right? It's just automatically there. So you have a welcome sequence. The ones that are starred, I'm going to give you a little bit of an outline for. So we'll talk about, oh, there's my light. We'll talk about welcome sequences. They can be from anywhere from 3 emails to 30 emails. You really just have to find what feels good for your campaign. And I would recommend starting around the 3 to 7 and then building over time. You can have nurture email sequences where you just are building on the education and the value. You can have a campaign launch where you are really, building up to an event and sending all the emails and really doing a drive or a fundraiser. Re-engagement series are great when you have people who have stopped opening your emails. So that is like you're kind of like you're trying to get them back into your world. They've kind of zoned out and you're like, wait, don't go anywhere. Come back. Upsells. So maybe you donated $10 today, but can you donate $25? Because that would actually make a very big difference for us. And you would really help somebody do XYZ. Abandoned cart we talked about. And then if you have an event or a webinar, you can also automate that. And then you can reuse it. So Kat, you're doing a lot of events and webinars. So if you just have like a basic sequence, you can just copy and paste that sequence and then adjust what's inside of it for each event. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Keeping it simple. I am very much about keeping it simple. So a welcome sequence. So for new subscribers, I'm wondering, yes. So Jen, you have an email that you send out to your whole list that performs well. I often slot them into my nurture sequence. Yes. So if you have an email that performs really well, you can definitely put it into an automated sequence so that everybody gets it. You could even go into your email provider and say like, okay, what are my 10 most popular emails and how can I make that into my welcome sequence, right? Do you both have welcome sequences set up? You do. Okay, so for welcome sequences, introduce yourself. If you have a guide or something, make sure that you deliver the guide in that first email. If it's an event, give them the link and the information for the event in that first email. The second email, I would say, yes, so exciting, Jen. The second email, that's where you introduce yourself, your mission, your vision. And then from there, you can go into providing education and value, building awareness, add in that proof, and then finally ask for support. So you can see how this could be 3 emails, but it could also be 10, right? Depending on how much education and value you want to produce, that could be easily 5 or 6 emails. So that is a welcome sequence. Let's talk about re-engagement sequence. So for inactive subscribers, so if you are cleaning out your list, before you delete all of the inactive people, try to re-engage them with a re-engagement sequence. So a lot of the times I see these where the subject line is like, hey, I miss you. I don't know if you've seen those, but reconnect with them, thank them for their support, tell them you miss them, and remind them of what you do, right? So maybe you're not top of mind anymore, but you want to get them to be thinking about you. And then you want to spend some emails building authority. So share wins, share things that you've been doing. What has your organization been working on? Right. So start building that authority and then tell a story about somebody you helped, and then you can make an ask. If after a re-engagement sequence, people are still not engaging with you, you can then make a decision if you want to keep them on your list or just kind of be like, all right. I know sometimes it's hard and scary to take people off your list, but it's actually very good for your list to only have people who actually want to read your emails on there. And then an example of an event sequence, it builds excitement. So you can start hinting at the event. If it's a reoccurring event, like if you throw a gala every year, you can talk about like, oh, remember last year's gala? It was so successful. And like, we're going to do it again. And yes, quality over quantity. Exactly. And then when people sign up, have their reminder emails, let them know that they've signed up, give them all the information. And then after the event, have some thank you emails where you talk about the success of the event and you thank them. So this is something that you would have to modify for each of the events. But like I said before, don't reinvent the wheel, have a structure, and then just adapt and modify over time. Ooh, I do the boot camp every 6 weeks. How can I keep it fresh? I would incorporate any social proof you have, testimonials, and then if you have stories of people who went through the boot camp and then they're like, oh, like I learned so much and I was able to XYZ, like make that into like a story. Like, let me tell you about this person who attended the boot camp and they were really struggling with this. And then, we talked about this and then now this, and you can also have this too. Uh, um, yeah, so those are some ideas. And just tie in the topics of the boot camp. So do a lot of like problem aware stuff. So why might somebody want to come to the boot camp? What are they struggling with? And just kind of talk about those things. So that is the big presentation part. So we'll move on to Q&A in a second. But we kind of went through email foundations, everything you need to know to grow your list, how to nurture them, how to segment and automate. And I'll stop sharing my screen in a second and open the floor for questions. But if you have any big takeaways, I'd love to hear. And my biggest piece of advice is don't try to implement this all at once. Email is a long game. It really, really is a long game. And I think sometimes in the online space, it's like people want like really fast results, but email takes months. It takes a long time. You really do have to build that community. And so start building those segments and there's automations as you go. Exactly. Keep it simple. Because especially if you're doing this all organically without ads, like it does take consistency and it does take sustained effort. So learn as you go, plan ahead. Yeah, give yourself grace. That's my spiel. And then if you want to reach out, this is me. I'm on Instagram all the time, pretty much all day. That is Instagram and email is the fastest way to reach me. Feel free to also connect with me on LinkedIn or find my website. And thank you so much. I would love to hear from you. I really like making new connections. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And if you have any questions, let me know.
So much wonderful information, Stacy. Thank you so much. All
right, so Jen
I'll let you address the question.
We have a database that exists separately to our newsletter list. Okay, historical data, cost of platforms. Given it's best to have a small and engaged email list, would we better to allow unsubscribes from our email list but still remain on our database? So are these people who have like opted into being on your email list, on your database? Yeah, you can unmute. I don't know the rules, Kat. It's fine, right?
It's probably easier if I just talk. So we have a big database. We've been in existence for about 30 years, and we are in the process of becoming more automated with emails, newsletters, and things like that. So we have a database that exists. Yes, they've given us permission to contact them. So we've been sending out newsletters to them for that whole time. These people will come across to our email list, but it will exist kind of side by side, and we have to do an export from one and an import into the other. So given that we don't want to lose their contacts, we want to keep them in our database so that we can still send all those transactional things that we need to send. My question is, is it worth running them really closely so that every time someone does something in one list, they automatically get done in the other, or just letting the email list run quite independently. So bring them across, let them unsubscribe if they want to, let them share, subscribe new people there if they want to that aren't necessarily in our database.
I feel like
Yeah,
there's a
bit
few
of a mess.
ways you can do it. So you could import everybody and then put them into a segment so that you know that they came from the database. And then you could send a series of emails that says like, hey, like we're moving some things around. And, you know, if you don't want to receive our regular monthly newsletters, like feel free to opt out or just let us know. You'll still receive like all the transactional stuff. And then just that way it's the permission-based thing, right? They can self-select if they want to keep hearing from you on the newsletter. If you do go that route, don't be like shocked if people unsubscribe. That's like a totally normal thing. So yeah, I think it would be fine to transfer them over. I would just let people know and give them the choice to opt out. And then for your organizational purposes, like figure out a system so that you know, okay, like these people came from the database and we want to make sure that, right, that we know that they're from there. And then you can also track how many people that you moved over that are unsubscribing, because if it's a lot, then maybe it's not worth the effort of moving them over, right? So you can collect that data too. Mm-hmm. My answer to everything is going to be collect the data and see what happens. All right.
And just as an email person, do you know what your best ever open email is? Your subject line? Do you recall?
I don't. I don't know.
Awesome question, Jen.
It's always interesting to hear.
When my list was really small, like I would get like 80% and I'd be like, I'm so great at email, but it was like 10 people.
And they all know you.
Yeah. One's mom.
So yeah, I'll get in the like 40 to 50%, and I consider that a success.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. Yeah. Do you know what your best opened subject lines are? Have you got any tips there for, you know?
I can look it up.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think a lot of them are like a lot of my best ones are the things where I deliver something. So it's like your guide is here, right? Or I'm doing like a giveaway this week. So it's like welcome summer giveaway. And people are like, oh, giveaway. Like I wanna open that and see what's inside. But I'm looking it up for you right now. Hold on. This is so fun. I could do this all day looking at my email data. So open rates. I have, let me go to some that are more than 20 people sent, because all the ones at the beginning have great open rates. Okay. I have one that's holy poop emoji. I'm honored. That one had 58%.
That's awesome.
I have one that's called Braga Family Compound, where I talk about how all of my family lives in like this close
3
space.
blocks. Yep.
Yes. That one did very well. Yeah, it's always like the kind of random ones.
Yeah. So sometimes that's really easy in a business or a coaching kind of world. It's a little tricky in a not-for-profit sector, I find, to be. So there's this line between being engaging and fun, and like the voice that there is for an organization like a not-for-profit, especially in the medical field, is a little tricky to balance that we're cool with we're also serious.
Yeah. So you can, I feel like some of the like templates, not templates, but like 5 ways to XYZ, right? What to know before you blank. Those are still popular, and I feel like those still have like a serious vibe. You can also ask a question. Anything where you're opening a loop, right? So you want to open the loop and make somebody be like, oh, I have to open this email so I know the answer to this. I would have to think about it some more for the nonprofit world.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And Stacy, if there's anything that you want to add to this, like if you go away and think about it and you're like, oh, this would have been really great to have included talking about the not-for-profits, just let me know and I can send that out to everyone who registered for this event in an email.
Okay, that'd be great. Yes, and if anyone has any questions, like email me or Instagram me. I'm happy to chat.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Jen?
Not right now. I'll drop them in an email.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. Well, I just want to thank Stacy again for joining us with TechSoup Connect Australia. I know I've got about 3 pages worth of notes to go back over because this was fantastic. This was absolutely fantastic. So I just want to say thank you again. Our next event is coming up on July 19th, and we're going to have one of TechSoup Connect's own presenters, own hosts, Ryan Jones from Refuel Creative, speaking about marketing. The details on that are coming. It's going to be going up on the calendar this week. So just keep an eye out on your emails for that. And thank you again so much. I am Kat Milner, your host for today from Create Your Change and Simplify Your Tech. And we look forward to seeing you on another event.